Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video with myself and Sloth today. First things we want to do before we even mention this video is congrats to Mike. He's going to be taking a little bit of time off for a new hammer in the world. But yeah, all of our congratulations go to him and his family. And you're going to have to put up with us too, I'm afraid, for the time being. But the show continues, Sloth. Another name linked to West Ham, shock, another move that could potentially happen. This one actually maybe a little bit more dependent on whether Aaron Cresswell leaves the club, but it is a player that we've liked for a long time. He was a player we scouted last summer when we first started doing Babbling. So talk to me about this man, kind of Adrien Truffert, because still only 21 years old. It's the type of profile we've probably been wanting to look at. And, you know, it's now coming out that we are preparing an offer for the 21-year-old. And that's from L'Equipe. So it's quite a big French news outlet, and obviously X himself has mentioned that we could be tempted to go back in regardless of whether Cresswell stays at the club. So let's break down kind of what West Ham could be bringing in on that, to come in for that left back or left wing back position. And yeah, before we get into the actual scout analysis, just talk to me about Truffert as a whole.
So obviously, anyone who kind of watched Aguerd before he joined West Ham will know that he was his teammate. Aguerd has apparently spoken very highly of him and recommended him to Moyes. He is a really brilliant young prospect. As you mentioned, he's only still 21, but he's about 5'8", 5'9". So he's not the biggest unit in the world. He's definitely improved his physicality in recent years, but he's been playing senior football, first team football for Rennes for about 3 seasons now. Not full seasons, but making appearances across them. He is a really fantastic young prospect, and his development over the past few years has been excellent. It was one of those where when he first came through, you would have thought he's going to be much more of a left wing back. He's got a fantastic left foot, so he can deliver cross after cross. If Cresswell is getting ousted and put down towards more of a bench role, then we're not going to have to worry about losing his set pieces. Truffert's set pieces and his delivery is absolutely brilliant. We were just talking about this before, but he has got 6 assists in Ligue 1 last season and 1 in the Europa League. So 7 assists is a fantastic number across all competitions. And the key thing that I kind of really want to preach about him is that when he came through, as I said, it was looking like he was going to be a bit more of a left wing back. People were a bit more hesitant about his defensive side. As he's not the tallest, there were kind of a few doubts about his ability to defend overall. But this season in particular, it's really, really come along. He's always had a really good engine. He's quite quick and he's very agile, but his defensive numbers this season have skyrocketed from previous. So he was intercepting 1.38 passes per 90 last season, which was put him in the upper percentiles of Ligue 1 for wing backs, and in fact across Europe. It's a really, really good metric, and it actually went up to 1.79 for some of his physical duels as well. Now, for a 5'8" bloke, that's pretty impressive. So it should give you a bit of an insight into the tenacity that he has. He does work hard and he does like to throw himself into a challenge.
I think what I like as well, stuff is the fact that he's broke through at such a young age and he's got that kind of consistent development, because especially Ligue 1, you will see a lot of players kind of break through as a youngster, especially from the age kind of 18. And I think that's something Truffert's done. You know, he's now got, like you mentioned, his 3rd season at Rennes. And, you know, he made a lot of appearances in Ligue 1 last season, almost 30. So he is developing. He's getting the minutes that perhaps he needs at that stage of his career. And like you mentioned, he might not be the tallest, but from the statistics we're going to show up in a second as well, he's tenacious. He will go into the tackles. He's definitely developed his defensive side over the past season. So we're not kind of losing out in that that aspect, because you're taking out Cresswell theoretically if you're going to play a back four, or Emerson for that matter. So do you think Truffert coming in, he would probably be favoured as a wing back under Moyes, because we've spoken about David Moyes before and what his preference is to be as a fullback, and he's turned down the likes of Rico Henry before just because of the height. But do you think Moyes maybe potentially dabbling with that back three, that Truffert would be seen maybe as a wing back rather than a left back for West Ham?
I think so. And to be honest, I think even if we were to go with a back four, I think we'd be playing that defensive midfielder who is comfortable dropping back and, being that centre back, while someone who we know is incredibly quick and good on the ball and has a great range of passing in Aguerd makes those kind of advancing moves. As we said, we know that Aguerd is recommended him to our coaching staff, which is a great sign that he has that faith in him to be able to adjust to the Premier League. But I do think that, as I mentioned, his tenacity and his engine, but with his speed, are also really good signs that I don't really think it matters if we choose to put him in a back three or play in a back four. I think he can adjust to that. And, people have already started to mention him potentially being a shout for France's left back spot in the future. So I think it's one of those moves that, as long as we play him, we're going to get good results. If we do want to see a bit more rotation between Emerson and Truffert, I think that's a really good thing, because Emerson can kind of help guide him forward. Who else better than someone who's, played at an international level and has got so much experience in European competitions to help develop someone like Truffert?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think what this also symbolises as well is exactly what we've been speaking about on Babylon for a long time in regards to recruitment. It's that we're targeting players that are maybe the younger profile, but have the capabilities of not only developing at West Ham, but also being ready to step in, because we're going to have a lot of games again next season. I think it's gone a little bit under the radar this summer just because of how much is going on. But we've got Europa League football again, and we're going to have a lot of minutes to be played. And we're going to need cover. We're going to need players that are going to come in. And do you want someone like Cresswell to be your backup to Emerson, who's almost at the end of his contract and looks like he wants to move away? Or would you like someone that's 21 years old, is consistently developing, and looks like he's just going to keep on improving? So for me, I'd be absolutely looking at Truffert. It'll be interesting to see the kind of price that Rennes kind of step on him. I wouldn't expect it to be out of our budget at all. And for that reason, I think we should be going for it. And we're going to show the stats now just to show you guys how he kind of compares in Europe. And you can kind of see the percentiles that he's in and the positives and negatives. So we'll kind of list off the positives for you in terms of, being really good defensive positioning and awareness. Obviously, it provides opportunities to intercept possession, block attempts at goal. He's definitely improved aerially this season, as you mentioned, Slough, and he's been more competitive in his defensive duels. And then you've also got the attacking threat going forward. He's very good at delivering those set pieces and crosses from wide areas, which we know Moyes will like, and we know Moyes absolutely loved when Cresswell was doing it, and Kufat as well a couple of seasons back. It's when we had our biggest joy. So, yeah, I mean, for me, Truffert makes absolute sense. Again, as we bring these kind of up, you can see the percentiles where he kind of thrives. The defensive actions per 90, really high up there. Aerial duels won. I mean, 97% is a really good figure for someone that's 5'9". And you can just kind of see across the board he's a very well-rounded fullback, and I think that's very rare to see in such a young player. I think these metrics kind of show he's a little bit more mature for his age than people might think, similar to someone like Declan Rice was at the time. So yeah, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. We should be going for this regardless of whether Cresswell leaves. Is that the way you see it, Slough, or would you only bring him in if, say, Cresswell departs?
No, I completely agree with you. I think he is the sort of player that you want to be getting in the squad and signing as soon as possible, really, because as I just mentioned, people are already talking about him as a future France left back, and I don't think it's unfair to say that is a possibility. I know France have an incredible wealth of talent, but when you have someone who is willing to put in the work and to develop as much as he has in such a short space of time, I think it's a really valuable thing that can help push a squad forward. And you know, next season is going to be so important for us. I've said it a few times on my Twitter feed, but I really do think we need everyone pushing in the same direction. And when you have people like this who have that work ethic and want to improve, I think that's exactly the kind of thing that you want to get on board.
Yeah, exactly. And I think David Moyes himself has spoken in the past about wanting this young, hungry talent. Well, now's the time to prove that, because you've got Tim Steidten in that's going to be giving you players like this. And we're going to be identifying a lot more younger talent with the quality to do it as well. So I think it's time to go away from the Maguires and the McTominays of this world, where we're just going to get priced out of moves, and there's better, younger talent out there to help us develop. And that's the way we should be looking at things as a club now, because we're not someone like Man City who can, you know, attract the best talent in the world, regardless of their age, and just get them in their peaks and, you know, peak performance. But even a club like Man City have an excellent recruitment strategy in terms of the age that they're recruiting, the development of these players. And that's the kind of model we need to go down, because fast is the world kind of evolving, where money's becoming bigger in football. And, you know, clubs like West Ham in that kind of middle bracket are going to have to look towards developing players a lot more so than we currently are, because otherwise we're going to stagnate and we're going to start to regress. And I think that's my biggest fear for next season coming up, is that we start to regress even more. And Moyes is kind of looking for short-term solutions to long-term problems. So I would really like to see Truffert coming in. So yeah, Sloth, last kind of words on that.
I think one thing that kind of stands out to me and I think should really be setting alarm bells around West Ham is, you know, we know that Moyes turned down the chance to sign Alvarez, who went on to sign for Manchester City. Of course, has won a World Cup now with Argentina. We know he turned it down because he had doubts over whether he could adapt to the Premier League. And if that isn't, you know, ringing alarm bells, look, I'm not saying he would start every game for us. I do think he would be fantastic in our system, but to have that off the bench instead of someone like Danny Ings, or, you know, to change that sort of style, have someone with pace and youth, as we've mentioned time and time again, that's what Truffert is. And also keyly to that as well, he is quite well priced. I believe he's probably going to cost around 15 to 20 million pounds, if the rumours are to be believed. And that's a similar thing to Alvarez. You know, it's these sort of deals that we need to be looking at for the long-term sustainability of the club, and get 2 to 3 great seasons out of him. He's easily going to be quadrupling his price tag.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think our kind of standpoint is very clear. Truffert would be a very good signing if we could pull it off. I know the likes of Nottingham Forest are still looking at him as well. So it's probably a move we'll have to act fast on, or he could even be looking to extend his contract as well by a year. So yeah, I think regardless of whether Cresswell stays, we should be going all over this. But let us know what you guys think in the comments. Would you like to see Truffert at West Ham next season? Would you like Cresswell to stay in regards to Truffert coming in or not? Let us know in the comments. Leave a like on the video as always. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and until next time.
Come on, you irons.